Hi guys, and welcome to this new tutorial, how to master Venice. In this tutorial I would like to explain you the main tricks and the best strategies in order to obtain a good lap in Venice. Before starting the tutorial, I really would like to say thank you guys for the big support I have received in these last 2 years since when I opened my channel. I'm very happy for that. I'm glad you guys keep watching my videos, and for this reason I've decided to do this special for 1000 subscribers, the tutorial in Venice as I promised. So guys, maybe some of you are asking why I am specialized in Venice, and the answer is that I am from Italy, and actually Venice is pretty close to my city in the north of Italy, so that could be an explanation, yeah. But of course the real one is that Venice is interesting and a challenging track, probably one of the hardest one in the entire game. So yeah, mastering it was really since the beginning one of the main goals of my career in Asphalt. The idea now, guys, is to divide the tutorial in different parts, and for each part discuss the way to perform it, but with different cars in terms of speed. So let's start, of course, with the first turn and the way to approach and perform it. Okay, so for the first turn, we are now starting with slow cars, and see in which way slow cars like Mazda RX-8 or Lotus Exceed perform the first turn. Well, there's a blue nitro bottle before the first turn, and that blue nitro bottle can't be taken without many problems. So of course it's useful for nitro duration, since that Venice is a very long track. You will probably need it, but remember that with very fast car like Vulcan or the new Apollo, the first blue nitro bottle is like risky. I mean, if you don't do a micro drift, for sure you are not going to take the first turn in the right way, because you need a particular direction for approaching the turn. So keep in mind that if you are using a slow car and that slow car doesn't give any problem for nitro duration, the best option is to avoid the blue nitro bottle, but you can take it because you have enough time in order to then change direction in the good way for approaching the first turn. While if you are using a fast car, well, it depends again on the nitro duration of the car, but my suggestion is to avoid the first nitro bottle, because it's easier than to take the first turn in the way we are going to explain. Now for the first turn, starting with slow cars again, the main idea is to avoid long drift. So you need to arrive just before the first turn with a direction that lets you do a micro drift like in this way, and then another micro drift in order to exit from the first turn. While guys, if you are using a medium fast car like a Ferrari 599XX or a McLaren 675 LT, the best way to perform the first curve is to approach to it with the right angle like the one shown in this video, but then immediately do a single micro drift in order then to stay as close as possible to the left wall, and after few milliseconds perform a long drift in order to exit from the first turn without losing too much speed. If you are driving a fast car like an Apollo or like an Aston Martin Vulcan, the idea is to take the first turn doing an airborne. So what you are going to do is to perform a small micro drift and then a big long drift like in this video. After that you need to instantly triple nitro and you are going to get a boost of speed that is very important for the speed, of course, but also for the nitro duration, because in that period you are not going to waste your nitro and you have even more nitro for the rest of the lap. Just guys, keep in mind that these three ways of doing the first turn are not all the possibilities, because of course if you are driving a BMW Homage or SLK, the way to do the first turn is completely different. So I'm now concentrating only in these three ways, but just keep in mind there are some exceptions and you can see them through my channel. As soon as you finish the first turn, a general rule is to do a micro drift in order to stay as close as possible to the right wall, because you don't want to lose time doing a longer path staying on the left side. The more you will stay close to the right side, and the more will be difficult for you guys to do well the second turn, because you need to keep in mind that with slow cars the best way to complete it is to do a single micro drift plus perfect nitro or a double micro drift. While if you are using a medium but also a very fast car, the best way I figure it out is to do a single micro drift, because it's possible if you weren't too close to the right side before the turn. Depending on the type of car you are using, it's likely that you will have to take a decision to go to the right or to go to the left side. But in general, those two paths are not that different. I mean, in terms of distance, despite the appearance, they are almost the same. But if you're using a slow car, probably the best option and the easier one is to go through the right path because of city avoid, which is very important for nitro duration. Then if you're using a medium fast car, it's likely, because of the direction you had before, that you are going to take the left side, but it's okay guys. Yeah, the importance is just to take that nitro bottle and to avoid bumps into walls. Regarding the first ramp, I will give you the following suggestion. So if you're using a slow car, due to nitro duration problems, the best way to take the first ramp is doing a double flat spin on it. It's not that easy, but try to get to the ramp on a side, and then before doing the flat spin, change completely the direction, and you will probably get a double flat spin. If you're using a medium fast car, again, due to some nitro problem, as you already know, the best option is to perform a single flat spin, but with a straight landing, like in this footage. While if you're using a very fast car, the best option is just to go ahead without doing any flat spin, because as the car is fast itself, you won't really need much nitro at the end. So yeah, go ahead. We are now arriving into the narrow turn to the right, which in general has to be taken whatever car you are using. So if you are using a slow car, then a single micro drift should be enough in order to take the right path in the best way. While if you are using a medium fast car, my suggestion is to do a double micro drift and immediately triple. So a double micro drift plus triple nitro should be okay in order to get into the right path. So we are now arriving into the hardest part of the entire lap, which is the St. Mark's Square. So what's the best way to go through all the square without losing too much time? Well, starting with slow cars. Firstly, a micro drift to the right. Then go ahead till you reach the first edge of the square, where you need to do a single micro drift to the left. Then again you get into another edge, and in this edge you need, in general with slow cars, so a double micro drift, in order to not get too much far from the side of the square, and immediately do a long curve, trying to be as close as possible to the last edge of the square, of the central square. And when you finish the long last drift, simply go ahead until you get into the ramp, where you will need to perform flats. If you're using a medium fast car, the path is almost the same, so I repeat: micro drift to the right, micro drift to the left, double micro drift to the left, and long turn. Keep in mind that there are of course some exceptions, like the SLK, which need to get through the St. Mark's Square in a completely different way, but also like the Lotus Exige, which has a very bad drift radius. So even if you were able somehow to get through the all San Mark square by doing perfectly, still you need to face the flat spin. Now, flat spins are essential for nitro duration, so in general you will need to perform them. And if you're using a slow car, then probably you will need 3 flat spins because of nitro duration, like in Mazda RX-8 or Lotus Exige case. In particular, in those cases, the best way is to tap perfect nitro just after landing. The reason is that with triple nitro after landing, you won't be able to stay close to the left wall with slow cars, while with perfect nitro you have this small gap in time that allows you to get into the left side of the lane. In general, for getting flat spin with a very good speed, and in order to perform, depending on the car, 2 flat spin if you're using a very fast car and 3 flat spin if you're using a slow car, my approach is to choose one of the 2 sides before getting the ramp, so or the left or the right, and then brake immediately before it, and instantly after the brake triple nitro on the ramp. For fast car, the thumb rule is getting double flat spin followed by a straight landing, so you are able to instantly triple nitro, and after few frames go to the left, staying close to the wall side, and go ahead through the narrow lanes. After landing and getting into the left side, you will face the narrow lanes, which in general, apart from random skids, don't give any real problem. Just try to remember to get into the part under the archway, staying as close as possible to the left wall in order to not lose time. With slow cars, you can do all the path without turning, without doing any micro drifts until the right corner before the last part. While if you are using a medium fast car, my suggestion is to do a small micro drift to the left right here in order to have a good direction just before the right turn. We arrive now into the final part of the lap. So imagine you were able to do all the previous parts perfectly, and then you realize that the glory is still far because of this last part. Firstly, there's a turn to the right that can be in general performed with a single micro drift if you manage to get, of course, the corner with a good angle, or a double micro drift with fast cars. Keep in mind that you can also do a long drift if you're using a car with a very good drift radius, like the Vulcan or the Apollo. Probably now there's the most technical part. So after turning to the right, you see a bar on the right, just before the small drop. Well, if you're using a slow car with good acceleration, like the Mazda RX-8, take it low in order to get extra speed boost. Otherwise, leave it because it's too risky and you will probably destroy your lap. Regarding the drop, the idea is to do the drop trick. Actually, I don't know if it's called in this way or bump trick because it reminds helix trick in French Guiana reverse. But anyway, technically speaking, you need to brake just before dropping, and in this way you will be able to either save nitro or get extra speed on landing, like in this example. We are now into the final straight part before the last curve, and the best way to proceed here is in general simply by staying into the right side, taking the 2 consecutive ramps by crossing fingers in order to get good speed. But there is a but. If you are using a slow car, there is a different route called Pro Strat, which is very hard and only for pros. The idea is to do a forced bar on the left side of the first ramp in order to drop before the ramp on the central lane, in which you have to do a flat with or without brake trick depending on the distance of landing after the first ramp, and after the flat get close to the third ramp and go above it with a very good speed due to the combination of the previous one. This is probably one of the hardest things to do in this game, to be honest, only for brave, but can save time and of course nitro because you are doing flats and barrels. So up to you guys. My suggestion is don't try it at home. Of course, if you are sure on nitro, you can always do a flat spin on last ramp in order to do the final part with enough nitro. Anyway, suppose now you were somehow able to get even the Pro Strat, but you need to face the last curve. Last curve is insanely hard to do perfectly, so let's see what are the best ways to approach it. If you're driving a slow car, do it only with micro drift, so after dropping, get close to the curve and perform a single micro drift, and then another one to the left, and then another one to the left, trying to stay close to the wall. So 3 single micro drift should be enough for you. If you are driving a medium fast car, my way to approach it is by doing a small initial micro drift to the left as before, but then a long drift followed by a small micro drift in order to get into the final straight part with a good direction. If you are driving a fast car, you can still use the previous approach, but remember the most important thing is to stay close to the wall and to keep the speed high. So in some cases, microdrift plus long drift plus microdrift works, and in some other with very good drift radius like I don't know, Fenrir, Vulcan and probably Apollo, the best way is to do the last curve with only 2 long drifts like shown now. For the final straight part, just go straight without considering the ramp on the left. Because if you have done everything like I explained, you will have probably enough nitro, so don't need to take that ramp. Now, if you were able to get all these parts correctly, unless you face some random glitch or skid, and I assure you that I faced them, the only last thing I can say is congratulations guys, you were able to master Venice. Guys, if you have found this tutorial useful, remember firstly, if you are new to subscribe, then leave a like and write a comment. I will be glad to reply to you. Thanks for watching this video. I hope now Venice is a bit easier.